being selfish is a positive thing because you realize your worth, what
Yes,
you won't tolerate, and what is fulfilling you
that's
and what
right.
is serving you.
Everything is possible. Just hustle. Just hustle. Everything is
The
possible.
Million Dollar Hustle Podcast, where we keep it real, a stated entrepreneurship wisdom. Learn to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. Here's your host, Billy the Kid, aka Billionaire.
Everything is possible. Just hustle. Just hustle. Everything is possible. Just hustle.
Welcome to the Million Dollar Hustle Podcast, baby, where you, my friend, are going to learn to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. Think like a millionaire. I don't think you guys realize that. I'm going to keep drilling it in your head. Today's episode, guys, is nothing far from that. If you take everything you hear in this podcast, in this episode alone, you're going to take your life to a whole other level. Just got done doing Worth Women. Wow. Shout out to Keziah and Katy. And her name is amazing, Keziah. Hopefully I got that right. But oh my God, the fire they just dropped, it was amazing. And so any ladies out there listening, again, me being a father and a husband and a son and to a single mom and a brother, I mean, it's amazing. Please take notes on this episode. Real quick, before we jump in, the mastermind, those of you who are interested in joining the mastermind, very, very important to be around people that think like you, that have the same language, which we talked about today. Super important. You don't want to be around people that speak differently, different language. You want to be around people that are speaking positivity into your head, and that is everything we do in this mastermind, the Get Uncomfortable Mastermind. So if you're ready to level up your life, we meet every Thursday through Zoom, and we have a texting thread, we have a Facebook group, and every single person in that mastermind is just killing it. I'm super proud. Love it, love it. Shout out to everybody in the mastermind. If you're interested in joining, info@billythekid.com. Also, I am doing one-on-one coaching. Again, I mentioned it before. I'll see how long I do the one-on-one coaching, but take advantage while it's available. So if you're interested, I'm only doing 2-3 at a time. So info@billythekid, send your information. Otherwise, guys, grab the book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It is out everywhere. Matter of fact, if you haven't yet, check out the Audible. Check out the audio version. You guys are missing out. Even if you already read the paperback, check out the audio version. It is on Audible. It is out on every audio place you could find books. My book is there. The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It's literally, it's like a soundtrack. It's like a movie. I tried doing that since I'm an artist. I think I did it, and I've gotten some great feedback. So it is out on Audible and everywhere else audiobooks are available. Check out my music, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music. And while you're there, subscribe to the Million Dollar Hustle Podcast. If you just type in Billy the Kid, DHAKIDD, on any of those platforms, the Million Dollar Hustle Podcast will come up, my book. And also, matter of fact, the podcast is available on Audible too. But if you listen to anywhere else, please leave us a review. Wherever it is that you're listening to the podcast, or if you're watching it on my YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe and then leave us a comment. The more you comment, the more reviews we get, guys, the more we get this movement out there. Any little helps, and that's how we've been able to build it to where it's at now and where it's heading. So please be part of the architect, right? Like, you're an architect. Help us build this thing. So I think that is all I got, guys. It's been amazing today. Literally, I just did a one-on-one earlier. This is like my fourth podcast today. Like, it's such a blessing. And tonight we're meeting on the mastermind. Depending on when you hear this, we meet every Thursday. So today is a Thursday, but it is amazing, guys, living the life of your dreams, and you can truly do it yourself too. You're in a great place to be at right now. If you're pursuing something bigger than what you're doing, if you're ready to level up, this is the show for you, the Million Dollar Hustle. And again, it's not even a financial podcast. It's what is it? What does it take for you to get to that point, right? And that's what we're doing. So with that being said, guys, let's get into today's episode with Worth Women. Here it is. I am super excited. Gem after gem. Worth Women, the Million Dollar Hustle Podcast, baby. Here we go. Vámonos. Welcome to the Million Dollar Hustle Podcast, baby, where you're going to learn to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. And I don't think you guys realize when I say think like a millionaire, like literally every episode, you guys can. I look at it as a book. Like every episode is a book that you can listen and run with that information and get to that point in life. And today, I am super excited. I have two ladies that are representing for women heavy. I follow them on Instagram and all their stuff is just amazing. How are you ladies doing today?
So good.
We're excited.
Yes, so excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yes, no, thank you, ladies, for being here. I've been looking forward to this. I know we've had it scheduled for like almost a month or something, so I'm like I've been looking forward because I just want to let it be known. Like I was raised by a single mom. I have three sisters, and then from there I have a niece, and then two daughters, my wife. So I'm heavy on women
Surrounded
around me.
by girls.
Yep.
Love it.
So I'm looking forward to just hearing everything that you guys are gonna share with us today. If we could start from the beginning, what I like to do is just have you guys give your stories, kind of where are you from and how did you get into this crazy life of an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So my name's Katy Brocious. I'm one of the co-founders of Worth Women. My journey started, I guess, 7 years ago. I was a fourth grade teacher. I taught language arts and social studies, which I loved. I had a passion for early childhood education. So I went to school to become a fourth grade teacher, and I thought that that was going to be my journey for the rest of my life. I was okay with it at the moment. And so I began teaching, and 4 years into my teaching career, I decided that I was going to start what we would call, I guess, a side hustle. And I started decorating homes. And when I first started my business, I wanted to decorate tablescapes. So I just wanted some extra money in my pocket for the holidays. So I was going to decorate for the holidays. Not one person reached out to me about decorating their tablescapes. So I was like, okay, God, I dabbled in it. This whole side hustle is not for me, until I had one parent at the school that I was teaching at, and she reached out to me and said, I would like you to come decorate my home. And I was like, well, that's not really what I was promoting, but okay, let's do it. So I showed up at her house, and I ended up designing 3 of her spaces. And that's when I recognized that I totally had a passion for decorating homes and making things beautiful. So I officially launched King Interior Designs, and I loved every minute of it. 6 months into my business, I unfortunately went through a divorce. And I guess you could say I blamed my side hustle for the reason why my husband chose to leave. So I kind of ghosted the clients that I was working with at the time. I fell into a very deep depression, and I lost any light that I had left inside of me. So then I heard Andra Day's Rise Up song one time on the radio, and I felt like God was telling me, this is your anthem. You're going to rise up, and you're going to make this business bigger than you could have even imagined. So I rebranded, relaunched King Interior Designs, and I have been busier than I could have ever anticipated. It was such a blessing, so much of a blessing that it actually brought me to my husband, my current husband, who reached out to me about decorating his home. Yes.
Wow.
Now that I think back at it, he would have never hired an interior designer. I think he was just trying to slip into my DM, but it worked for sure. And we were married. Yeah, right. We were married a year and a half later. So, but once I met Ryan, my husband now, we started talking, okay, what are we going to do as far as, like, it's time for you to pivot. What's your next steps? And I felt like I was not serving my students 100%, and I was not serving my design clients 100%. So I knew it was time to take a leap of faith. You would think I would stick with teaching because that's what I went to school for. But without question, I decided I was going to pursue King Interior Designs full time. So February 2021, I stepped into my boss's office and I said, I'm not going to renew my contract for the 2022 school year. I'm going to pursue my business. And she said, if you are as good of a designer as you are a teacher, then you're going to be just fine. And
Wow.
that was that was the motivation and the confirmation I needed to move forward. And then not even 2 months later, Keziah and I decided we were going to launch Worth Women. And I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that later, but we just realized how lonely the entrepreneurship journey is. And I knew that at that moment in my life, I needed to surround myself with as many women as possible that had the same mindset I did. And so we decided that we were going to launch Worth Women and serve the women in our community. We thought it was going to stay in Augusta, but very quickly we became, even bigger than Augusta. So now we have the opportunity to serve women all across the United States.
Wow. So many nugs in there already. I'm like super excited to dive in. And if I could hear your story, it's Keziah, right?
Keziah.
Keziah. Wow. I'm going to probably say it wrong a couple times, which it's a great problem to have. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right? Your name is original. So.
Oh, yes. I would like to say you're the only one that's ever butchered it, but it's fine.
There we go.
It's fine. It's my whole life. So I've been called Kevin, everything you can imagine. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so my story is a little bit different than Katie's. And so just to take you all the way back, as a child, my mom was a full-time bookkeeper. So she had a very small business that she worked from home, and day in and day out, I watched her run that business. And I just always told myself, that's not for me. I would never have the ability to do that. It's just not in me. I'm going to be a follower, and this is just going to be my path. I will work for somebody. I'll climb that corporate ladder. The big, windows and the skyscraper looked, nice and shiny to me. So fast forward, went to college, got a job after college, and my friends were getting married, having babies, and they were like, "Oh, well, you're a graphic designer, so can you just like make me a little baby shower invitation, or like a little birthday shower invitation?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. I'll throw it together." And started doing that for a couple of them, and they were like, "You should make this a business." And that little girl came back and she was like, "No, you can't. Like, you can't do that. Like, business owning? Like, are you serious? Like, who do you think you are?" And so for the longest time, I just kept putting it off until I just felt like God was like, "Do it." Okay. Like, it's been placed on your heart so many times. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I remember I made this little fake little wedding invitation, and I had my brother, who was a photographer at the time, take pictures of it. And like, I got the wording all right. Like, I was like, this has to be perfect before I put it on Facebook. And on March 7th, 2017, I launched Beck Designs. And so for the next, I think, 3 years, I continued to build that business. And going through, I was still working my full-time job, and I was like, wow, this really isn't as hard as I made it seem. Like, I'm actually capable of doing this. And I didn't think I was capable of doing this. And so fast forward until 2020, and I just felt God being like, this one chapter is closing, and it is time to, open a new chapter. And I was like, no. Like, I was like, I'm doing good right here. Like, I've opened the business. I've done what you told me to. Like, this is comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
But the nagging on my heart would not go away. And so June 11th, 2020, right in the slap middle of the pandemic, I quit my corporate job and I went full time with Beck Designs. And honestly, I don't think I've caught my breath since.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. And like Katie said, 2 years ago in March, we started Worth Women because we were friends at the time. And through Katie's divorce, we got really close. And so we would go to dinner pretty often and just like word vomit all the words that like your friends who aren't entrepreneurs like don't really understand. They're like, how's your business going? And they're like, oh my gosh, taxes, like this and
Yeah.
this, or trying to scale, like all these things, and like their eyes are glazing over.
Yeah,
And
the
so
dialogue is definitely different.
yes, and Katie's
Wow.
eyes did not glaze over. So I was like,
Yeah.
my girl. So we would go to dinner, and it was just that sense of wanting to be surrounded with women who got it. And I think she kind of like finished the story from there, and it's just grown exponentially. And now we have our first conference coming up, and we're just like, holy crap, this has been a wild ride for 2 years. And like, this is just the beginning.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my story, like all the way back from a kid, telling myself like I couldn't do it, to now owning 2 businesses and living the dream I never thought was possible.
Mhm.
Wow. That is amazing. And I love both of you guys' stories are amazing and just coming together. You mentioned friends not speaking the same language. And I'll be honest with you guys. I've gotten to a point where it is okay to be friends with everyone, right? Like it's fine, but also be mindful of those conversations. It's funny. We always kind of joke around in my mastermind where, we joke around like, oh, if you're talking about PTO, if you're talking about overtime and all that, we don't understand that language.
Right.
Like, and it's the same thing that you were heading towards. And let's start with that. How important is it? Because you guys, both sides of the story that I heard was very clear that you guys wanted to get surrounded by amazing women, right? So can you guys let our audience know how important is it to be surrounded by people that think alike or even above you?
Yeah, I always say that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Mm.
You can always learn from so many people around you, and they don't have to be entrepreneurs as well, but they have to have a vulnerability inside of them in order for me to connect with them. Like I don't like small talk. I'm going to go up to somebody and I want to know your story. I want to know what makes your brain work the way that it does, and what drives you to do all of the things that you want to do. And if you continue to stay at a level 6, you will never attract a 7, 8, 9, or 10.
Mm.
You have to be aware of who's in your circle. And if somebody in your circle does not align with the goals you have for the future, then it's time to move on. And I think that's the hardest thing. Kezi and I, we always struggle with, how do you outgrow somebody? But it happens all the time and you don't even recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And, unfulfilled people are toxic to our community. So if somebody does not fulfilled and they're trying to pass their negative thoughts onto me, no, thank you. Next.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the energy to convince somebody that I'm about to run the world.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Wow.
Yes. Okay.
Popping off.
Wow.
I'm popping off today.
Fire. I love it. Wow. That
Spicy.
like hit me hard. That hit me hard. Because I've gone through that as well. And I've came to a conclusion where literally, again, if you have friends that you hang out, that is totally okay, right? But I've also gotten to a point where it's like, hey, it is okay. You don't, just because we're friends outside of this, like, you don't have to follow me. I'm okay with people not liking my music. Matter of fact, I don't record for my friends, right? Or for my family. I don't record for them. This podcast is not for them. And there's some family and friends that I hope take advantage of it, right? Because sometimes all you need, though, is somebody like you guys in your corner to kind of pop that spark and let it be known, like, hey, there's more to life. So I love that. And wow, you were going off right now. I'm like ready to roll.
Fire.
You mentioned one thing I do want to talk about, Katy, is how you mentioned your divorce was due to the side hustle. And I feel like that is such a big thing that happens in the world that we're in. And you are not alone. I'm sure you've met people over and over. And I also truly believe that, and even the way you met your new husband is such a blessing. Like, it all made sense at the end. So there's that destiny factor too. But can you give us some pointers on how important is it for people that are listening right now that are creating something out of nothing and they are experiencing those issues with their spouse or their girlfriend or boyfriend as of right now? What are some tips that you would have, since you've already gone through that?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, you outgrow people, and I was outgrowing my husband and I didn't recognize it.
Wow.
One key piece of information, you need to make sure you're on the same page. I wanted to level up times 10, and I don't think my spouse was on that same ride with me. So communication is so key because hindsight is obviously 2020. I was pushing myself. I was motivating myself. Do you know how much better it would be if I had a spouse that was motivating me too? I feel like I was taking on this pressure. Now, in my mind, I was building a better life for, our future. And I was looking 10 steps ahead. And instead, I feel like I somewhat neglected my duties in the household because I was so focused on the end game. Mm-hmm. And if there's one piece of advice, it is to just enjoy the process and not the outcome. And when you're enjoying the process, enjoy it with your spouse. My husband now is my teammate. He is my co-CEO. He is he is the one who drives me too. And I feel like in my previous marriage, my needs were driving me. And now I feel like I am more considerate of my husband's feelings now and how we're going to move forward together.
Wow. Yeah, love that. And, it's so crazy. You keep mentioning over and over having people around you that will tell you, hey, motivate me. And I've found myself lately having those conversations, and I call them uncomfortable conversations. That I wrote the book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable, which I got a few questions to ask you ladies about that. But it is so crazy. Lately, I've caught myself preaching that to people that I care for, right? Like, hey, can you imagine if we believed in each other and we pushed each other? But at the end, I feel like if you have to do that to the people that you're surrounding yourself with, you're probably with the wrong people, and it's time to cut that cord, right? So I love that. Those of you who are listening, really, really sit down and think about it. Like, imagine your people saying that to you every day. Like, hey, you are the best podcaster. Hey, you're gonna have this conference that's gonna like blow up. Like, just imagine how much. And I love that you guys are doing that to us a whole other level, because there's people that don't even know it, and you guys are above that already and just running with it. So I love that. Yo, we'll be right back to this great episode of the $1 Million Hustle podcast. Before we continue, I want you to go grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It is out on Amazon. It is out on Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, Target.com, and everywhere else books are available. The great news, guys, is you could go to BillyTheKid.com and grab an autographed copy. That is right. I'm going to mail you an autographed copy right now. Audiobook is also available on Audible, and everywhere else audiobooks are available. So go listen to it. Go grab yourself an autographed copy, and I'll see you on the other side, baby. And now back to this great episode of the $1 Million Hustle podcast. Keziah, you mentioned Keziah, right? I'm gonna get it right. Keziah, right?
Keziah.
Keziah, Jesus. But now the people listening already got it down. I'm just gonna call you K because
perfect. I love it.
I love that name. You said you heard a voice telling you that you can't, that you couldn't do it at that time, and I feel like that's also a big part of why people don't make the jump. And you guys have already made this jump, and you guys are creating something amazing. What would you say to somebody that's hearing that voice right now?
So it's funny you asked that, because I've been listening to Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. So I'm like an audible person, not a reader. I get too distracted. But she just talks about the power of decision making. And it's honestly been on my heart like the last couple of days. So I think it's crazy that you're asking that question. But the most powerful thing we can do as entrepreneurs is just to make a decision, because if we let the thoughts in our heads and the person that wants to, because your brain honestly is wired to protect you and to keep you to do the things that are comfortable, that are safe. And when you're trying to go across that line of uncomfortableness, of unfamiliar, like your brain's like, oh, nope, stop. We need to hold back. But if you just make a decision, like, it was that day that I was like, I'm deciding today that I am quitting my job. It is today that I am starting this business. Like, whatever, like whoever, like to those listening right now, it's all about that thing that you have been thinking about doing, like that person that you've been thinking about reaching out to, the product or service you're thinking about launching, but you're terrified because you don't know what that looks like. It can be XYZ, but like whatever your situation is, if you just decide this is what I'm doing, and your brain is going to automatically go into that processing mode of, okay, cool, this is what we're doing. How are we going to get from A to B? And so I think it's just taking control of your own mind and realizing that there is so much power in just making a decision.
Wow. That I love that. And with the brand that you guys are representing and everything that you guys are doing, I got to ask both of you guys' point of view with this. You hear this narrative, right, with women, and I feel like you guys obviously have a stance. And again, I have daughters that I'm raising, and I want them to know, like, hey, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it doesn't matter that you're a woman. What are some of the stuff that you guys preach in the movement that you guys have created to women? Because again, look at the NBA. There's LeBron James, for example, right? He gets paid very well, but then the LeBron James of the women's NBA, it's not the same. So what are some of the stuff that you would give wisdom wise for the people that are listening, women specifically? And then just overall, what do you think that society or that we have to do for that to stop and make it to that point?
Yeah, I would say that number one, success looks different to everybody. And I think for women, we constantly want to compare each other's success. Comparison's very, very big in the women's world, and we're trying to break that mold. We want to break out of that because it doesn't matter what the person next to you is doing. You have to do what makes you fulfilled and what looks like success to you. Success could be being a stay-at-home mom and serving your family well. Success could be working 12 hours a day if you feel like that is what makes you fulfilled or you make you feel productive. Or, work-life balance. If that is success to you, then so be it. But we've got to embrace what we truly feel and see as success instead of sugarcoating and comparing and trying to, meet other women where their success is. You create your own success and you stick to it, because that's what's going to drive you to make any decisions in the future that are going to fulfill you.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love
and
that.
Kay, what do you think?
I feel like in today's world, the importance of just showing up authentically is so important, because like Katie said, we're constantly comparing ourselves, and especially with society, how can we fit into this mold that's been created for women? Like what size you should be, what you should look like, what kind of car you should drive, what kind of business you should have, or if you have a business, this is what it should look like after a couple years. Like there's so much pressure, but we lose ourselves in trying to fit into that mold. And I think just realizing how important your uniqueness is and to let that shine. I think so. I mean, I personally have lost that. I am just now getting it back after, months of losing myself to this hustle culture. And the more hours I work, the more money I make, which means more success. Like I burnt myself out twice last year. I almost lost my marriage because I was putting work before my priorities, my health. I was overweight. Like I'm finally back in the gym and I feel great. My confidence was lost, all because I just see these girls that show up to the office first thing. They're there when the lights go off. Like, why is that a thing in movies? Like, I don't want that. I want to have breakfast with my husband every morning. If I can meet him for lunch and he's free, I want to do that. If we can eat dinner together every night, if I can go to the gym every day, if I can still have, I mean, Katie's kind of forced to hang out with me, but if I have the bandwidth to still hang out with my friends and do things on like after hours, like I don't want to just work my life away. And so all of that kind of ties into just breaking the mold on what society has told us success has to look like.
Yes.
And just showing up as your true authentic self, because
Wow,
it is so hard. Like I'm a weird cat. Like Katy can attest to that today. Like, I'm just like, I'm a little weird. I'm like spunky, goofy. And I'm like, well, if you love it, you love it. If you don't, you don't. So I think women also are kind of scared to show that because we're supposed to be, prim and proper and, all the things. And I'm just like, what's up? So just, yeah.
Wow.
So just, being authentic and breaking the mold of what society says we have to do as entrepreneurs.
And if you don't mind me asking, Kay, you also mentioned that you were close to even losing your marriage. What are some stuff that you went through that hopefully can help somebody listening?
Yeah, I mean, I was just waking up as early as I possibly could, working all the way through. Like me and my husband are like, we're gonna take our dog on a walk, we're gonna do all these things together on the weekends, and I just I just let work get ahead of that. And I think the biggest thing is how fast time can fly before you even know how much time has gone by. And to me, I think I had probably 15 to 20 different clients at one time. So to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't even, like no time has gone by. My marriage is great, but weeks had gone by. And so I think it's just taking the time to make a starting point, make a stopping point, making that decision, like I talked about earlier, and doing it. Because at the end of the day, that work is going to be there like the next morning. Those clients are still going to be there. If you're serving them well, extend your timelines, extend whatever you need to, but make sure that you are sticking to what you said you were going to do and realizing how much time is going by while you're so caught up in the hustle. So.
Wow, love it. And it's so crazy that, that was my next question. And you mentioned hustle at the end. So the name of the show is $1 Million Hustle. And I truly believe that no matter what, you got to have your hustle on, right? Like that's just a given. But there's also the other side. And it's so funny because the bigger you get, the more you are against that culture, the hustle culture. And it's funny because it's happened to myself, but I truly believe, and again, this show is for people that are starting out, that are maybe they haven't made the jump yet, or they did, and they want to surround themselves. This is what this show is about. And I've also had billionaires on the show, and I've had people that are on their way to be a billionaire, or that it doesn't matter. Education never stops, so even a billionaire can benefit from the stuff that you guys are talking about for sure. And so it's funny because the bigger my business has got and everything that I've done, it's so crazy how much I am against the hustle culture, but in a good way, because you have to graduate from it to where you work smart. And so I love that you guys have been definitely already touching on that, and you guys know that already. So with that being said, I want to hear both of you guys, if you guys can elaborate a little bit about what does it take to basically be and it's so funny, I'm just going to make it up, like a leveled hustler, right? Like, how can we be a leveled minded hustler?
I think the biggest thing, and I love your approach. I've listened to your other episodes, and I love your approach to hustle because it's not the work your life away hustle. It's the intentional hustle. It's you have, like you said earlier, you have the right people in your corner. Every single hour is devoted to something that is taking your business to the next level. And whenever you realize that something isn't serving you, you say no to it. So there is a difference in this mainstream society hustle and the true hustle that is the $1 million hustle, because that's what we all want. We want financial freedom. We want healthy relationships all around. We don't want to be on our deathbed one day and be like, damn, I wish I'd worked more. Like nobody says that. And so I first off applaud your approach to it, because
thank you.
It's breaking that mold that I was talking about of overworking yourself, because that's not healthy. So
wow. And before Katy spits on fire, it is so crazy because people do think like, oh, I'm gonna work 14 hours a day and that's my hustle, and it's like, no, it's not. Like I'm sorry, but no, it's not. You have to be able to graduate into that point. At the end, it's like, let's not forget why we're doing this, and I'm doing this for my daughters. So like yesterday, for example, it was a Tuesday, right? See, that's another thing. If you forget what day it is, you're loving your life.
Yes,
you're enjoying what you do. And yesterday, actually, I had 3 birthdays to celebrate. This will be later on 21, those of you who are listening, but we're February right now. And it was my daughter's 15, which is a quinceañera that we're going to be celebrating too.
Aw.
But then my little nephew just turned 5, and he's the first boy of the family, actually, besides me. And then my sister also turned 21. So, and it was all in the same day. And the point that I'm making is, yesterday we literally did like 1 or 2 things, me and the wife, and our whole day was dedicated to our family. And I don't think people realize, like, why are you hustling? Why are you doing the stuff that you're doing if you're not putting the family first, right? Like, if you're not putting the people you're surrounding yourself with first, otherwise there's no point. So wow, that was amazing. I love that. And then Katy, Katy, I would love to hear your fire.
Yeah. I would say when you're ready to step into starting your business, be prepared to be ready to do the deep work. You are going to enter a whole different game. And if you want to level up, you have to be able to do the deep work. And when I say deep work, like, you have to find out things about you that you've never known before. And I can guarantee you will find a grit in you and so much that you are capable of that you didn't even recognize. And when you do the deep work, you will better understand who you are as a person, who you are as, as a business owner. And when you do the deep work and truly reflect on it, then you will know when you can hustle and when you're in overdrive. You can recognize, when your mindset is starting to slip and that imposter syndrome starting to slip in, or when you're on the brink of a fallout or you're on the brink of a breakthrough. Like, you have to learn yourself in order to grow yourself. And doing that deep work and getting to know yourself and really, like, sitting in the dark, doing that deep work is what's going to bring out a fire in you that you never knew you had the potential to have.
Wow. I definitely want to hear a little more about that. The whole time that I'm listening to you guys, I'm over here sitting, I'm on my 30s, halfway through my 30s, great place that I'm at. And I love, like, literally my 30s have been amazing. And it goes back to that saying, like, put in the work in your 20s, right? So you can live the life of your dreams in your 30s. And those of you who are listening, guys, it is true. Again, it's so funny because, okay, $1 Million Hustle, it's like, yeah, let's hustle. But I'm doing this for you guys because at the end of the day, Kay and Katy don't have to do none of this, right? Like, you guys are living your amazing life without putting yourselves out there. Like, let's be honest here. I don't have to put myself out there in this either, right? But we're trying to inspire people. We're trying to push people that are in their 20s or even their 30s. And guys, even if you're in your 50s, like, if you haven't gotten started, sometimes I do sit back and I really think about that. Like, all the stuff that we're talking about, and there's people that they will die and they will never know that this was a thing. Like, and that just kills me. And that's the reason why. And I can definitely tell you guys feel the same way, that is why we do the stuff that we do, because that one post on Instagram that you guys put up might be the one that will change somebody's life, right? And make that click that they needed, that they've been looking for. And so I love that. And it's so funny because, again, the $1 Million Hustle, people think it's a financial thing, and it's so funny because it's not. Like, the person that I became is who I'm in love with, right? Because I'm a better father, I'm a better friend, I'm a better in all round, and I'm still working on it. Don't get me wrong; like, nothing's perfect either. Like, I'm on the $1 billion hustle right now.
That's right.
But the thing is that people fail to forget that you have to measure all areas in your life. Is not just the money. Now, the money is a great indicator to show you where you're at, but also that's the money. The money is what gives you the freedom to be able to look and say, hey, you know what can I do? So for example, with me, thank God I'm already a great father, but I know that there's another level of it. So with me, it's like, what can I do? This year's goals, to me, money gave me the financial state to do this. And think about this was, what if I take my daughters on one-on-one dates, right? Like, I have 2 daughters, but what if I separate them? Because I feel like we've always done it together. And that's my goal this year, but it didn't come from an area of anger or negativity, right? Like, and also it doesn't mean that I'm a bad dad. This is like, hey, how can we level up to the next level? So
Right.
I've done nothing but relate to everything you guys are talking about. Kay, you talked about being authentic, and also just in general, you ladies mentioned comparing. And I think that's the biggest killer of success is when you sit there and you compare, well, if they're doing this, then I'm going to start my own worthy women, right? Like instead of worth, get it?
Right. Yeah.
And it's so, to me, it's sad because I feel like when people start doing that, they're not doing it because they love it, and they're going to burn out at the end, guys. Like those of you who are listening, they're going to burn out. Like the stuff that I'm doing is truly me. So, hey, I'm like ready to roll. Like I'm, I've been rapping for 20 years, I think, or almost 20 years now. And so it all comes from, because that was me. That's the stuff that I loved. And it is okay if somebody else wants to do music. You truly have to question, is this really what I want, or am I doing it just because this person is doing it? So I want to hear you guys' perspective on that. I'm sure you guys, and just beyond being women, like overall, what are some of the stuff that you guys have dealt with people comparing, copying, and at the end, it's like you guys are being authentic. You guys are sharing your story, all the stuff you guys have shared. People that are not authentic are scared to mention, hey, you know what? I was divorced, but that's how I found the husband that I have now, right? Like it takes guts to say those things. And so I want to give you guys flowers for that. But also if you guys could share some wisdom on that.
Yeah. Real quick, though, I want to say that if somebody did come behind us and wanted to start a women's group, do it. You know, we applaud you because we need to serve more women in our community. But like you said, if you don't have a true passion for it, then it's not going to fulfill you and you're going to burn out very quickly. And, you know, we do deal with women that want to lead something like Worth Women too, and they'll reach out to us and ask us, how do I bring this to my area? And we are so willing to offer any advice or any suggestions to help them get their business off the ground, because we want to see not just them win, but we want to see all women win. And I think that's so important that we preach community over competition. I mean, we have so many other interior designers and graphic designers in our group, and it's so much bigger than what we, you know, have in our bank accounts or what we do for a living. It's us living out our purpose. And how are we going to help women recognize God's purpose for them?
Yeah.
Wow. Fire. Let's go.
Fire. Yeah.
Kay, what do you think?
I feel like when it comes to the comparison thing, it really boils down to is how happy are you with yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Because when you start comparing yourself to others, it brings back to that mindset of, are you not happy with your offer? Are you not happy with how you are mentally, physically? Do you not even believe in what you're selling? Because if you want to if you are comparing yourself to other people and other businesses, you're not happy where you're at.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is just truly being able, I think you talked about this earlier, is just loving the process of being an entrepreneur. Like you have to be happy where you're at. And if you're not happy, then change it. Like it goes back to that decision making. Like I started out at the beginning of this year. I was like, I'm not happy with my weight. I'm not happy with my mindset. I am not drinking alcohol for 3 months, like completely cold turkey. I was drinking almost every single day, doing 10,000 steps a day, no alcohol for at least 3 months. I might even, do it longer because I feel so good. And it's just getting back to that, being happy with myself. Like, I don't care if someone else started another women's community right now or another graphic design business. I don't care what you're doing. I'm going to support you. I'm going to love you, but I'm going to keep killing it myself because when it comes, like, you have to look at it like the horse, like those little carriages and or I guess like the racetrack too, like how about the blinders, like I've got blinders on this year.
That's
like,
right.
No one's going to take my happiness.
Come on,
no
girl.
one's going to take my success because what's meant for you is meant for you and nobody can
Boom.
take it.
Come on, girl. Come on.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Love it. Love it.
And unfulfilled people are going to project their insecurities on you.
Yeah.
So you have to
Wow.
be careful with what women you do invite to the table,
Mm-hmm.
because there are toxic people, and they're going to affect your community either in a good way or a bad way, and you get to choose. And that's so important. Women who can't see it for themselves or do it for themselves are going to have the loudest opinions.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I want to stop you there too,
Yeah.
because that was so good, because that you have the power to choose who comes in your circle, who's on your social media, who you can say yes to and no to. And that is your power to invite whoever into your circle, because negativity is going to affect you. And so realizing that and saying no or saying yes, I think people forget that you can do that, because everyone's like, oh, well, that's rude, or that's not very nice. Like, why? Because I'm choosing my peace over toxicity. Like, my peace is too expensive.
Yes, girl.
Like,
yes.
okay.
Wow. Let's go. It's
Here.
almost, it's like a saying I ran into probably Instagram or somewhere. It said, do not allow my confidence to offend your insecurity. And I was like, wow.
Talk
I
about
was
us
like
dropping bombs.
blown
That
away.
was very good. Oh my
I
gosh.
was blown away by that.
Okay.
And that's what I'm getting out of it. And it's so funny. You guys both mentioned how important it is to be authentic, but then also what I'm getting out of this whole thing is abundance. Like with me, it's like, hey, there's enough for everybody. Like, you want to flip houses in my local area? Like, come on, I'll show you how. Because the truth and the reality, guys, is it's like Zig Ziglar, right? Like, the more you help others, the more you're gonna get. Like,
Exactly.
I don't think
100%.
people don't realize that. And like, come on, like, you guys need
Yeah,
to
I get you.
remember
I
that
know.
abundance is
Yes.
out there. And if you live your life like that, oh my God, the sky's the limit. So I love that. Love it.
And we're doing God's work. God's working through us to serve other women. Who are we to say? Who are we to pick and choose who we're going to serve?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Sure. And that's another thing that literally my first rule of life is God. Like, without him, I would not be here from the beginning anyways. I wouldn't even be born. So
Right.
love
Yeah,
it. Kay, you talked about quitting cold turkey, and it's so funny. There's so many people that are like, okay, on this date, right, 2 weeks from now or a year, next year, I'm gonna do this, and it's like, just do it now. And I love that you said that. So my question is, what is the mindset behind that? Like, what does it take for somebody to be like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to drink for 3 months? Because it's funny, this month, part of my mastermind challenge is I'm not drinking any beer this month. And I think there's like this mindset that we have to have, or you can't do it. So if you could give us some game on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it came from a place of where I was last year, of just struggling, using alcohol as a crutch. And it's not even just alcohol. For those listening, like, it could be anything. It could be, relationships. It could be alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be money. It could be whatever is just you're using as a crutch for the things you're going through. I think it's just realizing that how much potential you truly have on the other side of that crutch. And whatever the case may be, and alcohol was mine. Like, I would drink to numb the pain of a lot of things I was going through. And so I had already decided, like, I'm going to do dry January. And I remember thinking, this is going to be so hard. Like, I'm going to be counting down the days until, I can have another glass of wine. And it's just getting into it and realizing that, first off, all the effects that alcohol does have on you. And I've lost weight. My mind is clear. And it's getting into that mindset that I can do anything I put my mind to. And if I truly want things to be different, it's that saying of, what's it called? I'm blanking. I'm like always doing something and wanting it and expecting a different outcome. Insanity.
Yep.
I felt like I was insane, because I was like, oh, well, I can just, not drink during the week and I'll be fine. But like, nothing in my life was changing. And so I told myself 2023 is my Jordan year. 2023 is the year that my life changes. And I have to do something different. And so I bought into that mindset. And I actually have like a little calendar that I write on every single day. 10,000 steps a day, no alcohol. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want it anymore because I've just seen such a tremendous growth in just the last 40 days. And so I think it's just for those listening, like whatever you're struggling with, it's just about making that decision, to do something, sticking it out until the end, and truly digging deep to first off why you're using that as a crutch, and then what your life could be without it. You know, and like, and it all comes back down to who, like, how happy you are with yourself.
Wow, love it. And I do have a question for both of you. So I feel like, I don't know, a percentage, 80, 90% of our culture and just in general, I think as Americans, like there's this like thing that, okay, women will cook, women will do laundry, and there's this certain agenda, right, that we have for women. And those of you who aren't watching, I just air quoted, I'm trying to teach my daughters to be independent. And so with that being said, what do you guys teach women about being independent? And I don't know, I'll go as far as like, oh, not waiting on a man, right? But however you guys put it, if you guys could give us some gems on that.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back down to, I think, personal opinion on how independent does a woman need to be?
Right.
And me and Katie
Very
probably
good.
would have different opinions on that because my angel of a husband actually cooks, he cleans, he does the laundry, he does a lot of things for me. And I was raised in a household where the wife, like the dad was the breadwinner, the mom did all the things, and I don't really believe that anymore. Like I'm like, if my husband can help like in the household and I make more money, I'm totally cool with that because at the end of the day, he's helping me by first feeding me because God knows I'm a hungry girl, and second off, just like keeping everything clean so I can work and be productive to make more for the household. So I think it just comes down to personal preference and what each woman is comfortable with, because some women, they like to be dependent on a person, like whether it be a woman or a man, and some girls don't. Like I'm a little more independent than probably Katie is, and that's okay. Like there is no, I don't think there has to be a specific version of independence. Like it's all based on how you grew up and how you feel about it now.
Love it.
My household is very 50-50. But I will say that prior to, my recent marriage, through my last marriage, I was very independent. I was very independent and always on overdrive because I don't know who I was trying to prove or what I was trying to prove, but I was going to prove that I was independent and that I could take care of myself. Then I met my husband, and I lean into him 100%. I wish I could say that I was 100% independent. INDE. I wish I could. Could. But you know what? I lean into my husband because I feel safe now. I don't have to hustle anymore. I don't have to fight against everybody else I don't have to keep driving because I am in a safe place. And I know that what I lack in, my husband will carry that burden 100%. And so we are just very much a 50-50 household. And I appreciate that because he pushes me when I need to be pushed on, but he also allows me to lean on him as well.
Wow. Love it. And with that being said, what are like one or two characteristics that you think that maybe you have already with your husbands, right? Like what are some characteristics that you would tell women that they need to look for if they're single? And I will say, to add to that, at the end, you won't find that in anybody because you need to do the work first, right? Like you need to become the person that you want to attract. And that's the the vibes that I get from you guys with your marriage. But for anybody out there that's single, what are some stuff that you would tell them, whether it is a characteristic or just in general, they're trying to find that perfect man, we'll call it. What are some characteristics that you would look for?
We'll be right
Before
back.
we continue,
Go subscribe to Billy the Kid YouTube.
that is Billy, DHAKID.
Also, go follow Billy the Kid Music on Spotify
Pandora, Apple Music.
and everywhere else.
Music is available.
And now, back to this great episode. Let's go.
Hopping out the 2-door, we're number 2-4. Feel like Kobe, though I'm winning, need to do more. My mama sorry, college wasn't for me. Street smart, no degree, just like Kobe. Self-made boss with a suit like a mogul. I'm the new era, you see it on my logo.
Yeah. First and foremost, find a man that's going to pray for you and pray over you. That is the foundation, is finding a godly man who is going to help you not build that foundation, but strengthen it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you both have a relationship with the Lord and y'all can build on that, that is going to take you so much further than any household chore can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, I was gonna say, find a man that, and this is not right, almost like polar opposites. But I mean, yes, absolutely, God first more than anything. But second off, like if you are, if you're in a new relationship, if y'all like just moved in together, a man that won't, pick up after himself or offer to help you do things.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, I don't know, maybe I just have a different like house here, but he's just find someone that's thoughtful, that thinks about doing the things before you have to tell them.
Yes.
And realizing that there is no such thing as perfect. Like these men and women, like we're all going to fail and there is no perfect person, but finding that person that balances with your needs. And another big thing is love languages. Like oh my gosh. And realizing that love languages that we receive and give love, they're two different things. And so if your love language is, if you like receive love with time, but your partner's is acts of service, sometimes you just might, like my husband, he's never going to plan a date night, never. But you know what? He's going to have dinner on the table. Like he'll clean the kitchen after, because he's an acts of service guy. So I think just understanding like how you both serve and then receive love, I think that's been a huge game changer in our marriage too.
Yeah. And find someone who will never ever dim your light. Find someone who doesn't find joy in making jokes about you or embarrassing you in front of other people, or when it's finally your chance to shine, they don't try. Sometimes it's okay for a man to stand to be in your shadow when it's your time to shine. But any man that tries to dim a woman's light is no man of mine.
Wow. So true.
Sorry.
We're creating a whole soundtrack out of this episode. I love it. No, and that is so true. I feel like at the end, it doesn't matter who's doing what. Right. Like it's a team, right? Like we're a team. Let's wear the same jersey and let's kill life. Like I think that, or let's win life. If anything, I feel like people make it a little harder than what it is. So I love all that. That is some gems. And as much as I hate to wrap it up, we have to. You guys have some women's life to go change. So with that being said, the last segment, I just asked the same questions. And the first question that I have for you ladies is, I wrote The Power of Being Uncomfortable. So uncomfortable conversations happen. This episode has been nothing but that.
Great. I'm nervous.
great conversations. But it's a simple question. But I want you guys to share what comes to your mind right away. And your stories have been uncomfortable from the beginning. But what is one way that you got uncomfortable that paid off at the end?
I think just making the decision to do whatever was scaring me, and that just to stop hesitating, because once you hesitate, that's when the fear creeps in, that's when the imposter syndrome creeps in, that's when all the negative talk creeps in. So to anybody that is facing the uncomfortable, just make a decision. Just do it.
Wow. I love that. And it's so crazy. One of my chapters on the book is called "What You Fear Is What You Need to Do Next." So, boom! I love that answer.
Yes, look at that. We're different experience.
What do you got, Katie?
I will say sharing my divorce and my experience with my divorce was definitely the most uncomfortable thing, because I, at the beginning, was worried about what other people were going to think about me, or, why is she sharing this, this experience with everybody? And prior to Worth Women, I never mentioned my divorce. You wouldn't know I was divorced or had divorce in my past unless you knew me. And I feel like God gave me Worth Women as a platform to share about my divorce, because it's more common than not. And if I can share a little bit about my trauma to help other women and to meet women where they're at, then I have done what God has placed me on this earth to do.
Wow. Fire. And since we're kind of in that subject there, what is Worth Women? What does that mean?
It means that you are worthy of whatever comes your way, whatever you are working towards. You are beautiful, you are confident, you are unique, and you are worth it.
Love it. Wow. Love it. Love it. And then my next question that I have is, if you were to look back at your younger self and give you guys basically some piece of advice, some wisdom, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell her to stop telling yourself you can't do something before you've even tried. Because I think as humans, we try to convince ourselves that something's not possible because we haven't done it, but we don't even know if we can do it yet because we've never tried. It's like, who would have ever ridden the first bicycle? Like, you gotta get on, you gotta start pedaling, and eventually you'll find your balance, and then you'll straighten out. So just to start telling yourself you can do something, and whatever that's scaring you, just go ahead and tell yourself immediately, no, I can do that. I can do that. And then do it.
Love it.
Yeah. I would tell myself that you are going to design the most beautiful life you could have ever imagined. And I feel like I'm in such a good place right now that when I was younger, I never thought that I could have be able to obtain that. And throughout this entire process, I have learned so much about myself and had the time to recognize and be so grateful for all of the opportunities that have come my way.
Wow. Fire. And then with the $1 Million Hustle, it's going to be a book that I'm going to write here soon, but it's about, we'll call them habits of people that want to get to that level, right? So with that in mind, the question that I have for you ladies is, if there were 3 steps to success, and if you do these 3 things, you're not going to fail, you're going to be on your $1 Million Hustle, what are the 3 habits or the 3 things that somebody has to do to be successful?
Number 1, practice gratitude. Every single day you wake up, you practice that gratitude. You recognize what you're thankful for and what drives you. 2, master your mindset. You will not be able to achieve all of the greatness if you do not sit with yourself and reflect and master the gremlins that are in your mind. 3, what would you say would be 3?
Hey, you can't cheat. You can't cheat. She's gonna have her turn, girl.
Oh, it's just me. I thought it was a dual question.
That is
Sorry.
all you.
Yeah, I can help you. Practice gratitude, master your mindset, and
I just want to hear the 3rd one because you're on fire already. Like those 2 are massive.
Focus on the journey and not the outcome. Because you're, like I said, throughout this entire podcast, you are going to find so much about yourself throughout this entire journey that the outcome, it doesn't even matter. We don't have finish lines when you're an entrepreneur. It's all about those milestones and recognizing those milestones and celebrating them and, building the life that you've always loved.
Wow. That and I love that it every time that saying, focus on your journey, not the outcome, it reminds me of just like Nipsey Hussle, right? The marathon. Like, I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Like, it's so true. It's a marathon. So just keep going. It's never ending. So I love it. What do you have, Kay?
So I would say put people first. Like business is people.
Mhm.
And once you've understood the power of connecting with people and serving them well, like you're going to win no matter what. And secondly is to treat every single client and customer like they're your only client or customer.
Mm.
Because if you are focusing on one person instead of just trying to do 20 million different things, and you focus on the client experience, no matter what it is, no matter if it's a product that you serve or a service that you provide, like knowing that that you could only have one person if you were not going to be successful. So starting with that one person. And then I think the last thing would be is to just realize that selfish isn't selfish. Like putting yourself, like Katie said, like mastering your mindset, like working on yourself, saying no to people and things. And just removing that word selfishly out of the negative side of whatever that word is, because being selfish is a positive thing, because you realize your worth, what you won't tolerate, and what is fulfilling you. That's and right. What is serving you. So selfish is not selfish. Put people first and treat every client or customer like they're your only one.
Boom. Wow. Boom. Fire. And then
I told you I'm weird.
You know what? Those of you who are listening, you need to jump on YouTube right now and just watch the damn video.
We're a little entertaining.
Love it. And it's so funny. I asked this question at the beginning, but we've just been dropping fire. And what is one book that has helped you guys? And it could be the first book you ever read from the beginning, or what is one book that changed your whole life, we'll say?
I have to say Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, and I'm not even finished with it. But holy, I don't know if you cuss on the podcast, but holy S-H-I-T. Like
holy shit.
Holy shit. Like I'm on chapter 11, I think, right now. And it is just, it's the most simple things that we don't even, like we can't even put a word to, that Mel puts words to and meaning to. And it just has reshaped my brain. Like, I know we're out of time, but like she talks about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and like how it started was, she was like, I have to get out of bed in the morning on time. And she's like, I would just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch myself. And then she goes into the science behind why we sleep and hit that snooze button and how it starts our day. And I was just like, yeah. So if anybody listening has not read that book, go download it on Audible right now. It is literally life-changing.
Wow. Love it. What do you got, Katie?
For me, it is Ed Milet's The Power of One, or The Power of One More. And he talks about, how those who can do one more time or do one more thing separates you from the rest of the world. And you have the power to be that one person, to change the rest of your life, or you have that one more decision to make that's going to change the rest of your life.
Wow. Fire. And then to turn the question around, what is the theme/title of a book that you would write?
Oh,
I actually have never shared this, but I kind of have one already. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
sorry.
wow.
Exclusive. Right here.
Exclusive.
Well, since you do cuss on your podcast, it's stop talking shit to yourself.
Oh.
Wow.
So maybe in the next year or two, you might see that on the shelf somewhere.
Wow. Love it. What do you got? You're like, I'll just co-write.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I guess I'll play on my interior design business, but something along designing the life that you love. And just how you need to make sure that all areas of your life align in order for you to have that perfect, that life that you've always dreamed of. Your relationships have to be in line. Your spiritual health has to be in line. Physical health, everything has to be in a line, and, be healthy for you to thrive.
Wow. Fire. Love it. All right, ladies. It's been amazing. I can't wait to listen to it myself.
Oh, gosh,
I want to listen to this for myself, just to pick up all the nugs you guys dropped. Where can people find you?
I was waiting for you. I'm sorry. So our Instagram is worth_women, and our website is theworthwomen.com.
And our podcast is The Worth Women Podcast.
Kept it
Boom.
very consistent.
Yes.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Branding. I love it. And so with that being said, again, thank you guys. I truly appreciate it. Do you guys have any last words you guys want to share?
Just thank you so much for giving us this platform to speak to your listeners. And this has been such a joy. Like this has brightened my whole day.
Yes.
And just thank you
Same.
so much for allowing us to be here.
Yeah. And we were
Same.
placed on this podcast for a reason so we hope that we can serve and reach the women that are listening.
Amen. Love it. Love it. With that being said, those of you who are listening, please leave us a review. If you're on Apple, if you're on Google, if you're on YouTube, wherever it is that you're listening, please leave us a review and then also screenshot it and then tag them, tag me, and we're going to reshare. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next episode. Vamonos.
And some don't like that. They hate that they see you smile. As if I haven't been hustling, it's been a while. Gotta put in the work if you wanna shine. I want it all and I'm coming for what's mine. Some call me greedy, bitch, I call it ambition. Some call me selfish, bitch, I call it motivation. Different levels of thinking and we both, right? But my mindset is on growth with the future bright. Close-minded people mad at me that I'm speaking facts. Or maybe could it be that I'm getting racks? Open your mind, gotta open it to receive. I'm always 10 toes for what I believe. Close-minded people mad at me that I'm speaking facts.